Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film and they discuss it. This week, we're talking Night of the Living Dead 1990, which was directed by Tom Savini. I'm your co host, Alec.
And I'm Eric, and with us again is Joe Testa. Joe, welcome back to our 501 episode. Two, maybe? I don't know. Which one are we at,
Yeah,
Alec?
501. Yeah.
501. Here we go, Joe. Welcome.
Either one, that's very impressive. Congrats, guys. and and it's good to be back. And this series holds a special place in our hearts. Night of the Living Dead 68 was my very first chat with you guys way back when.
Yeah.
And yes, Night of the Living Dead in 1990. It's good that you specified that because I don't know if you guys know this, but just days ago a trailer dropped for Night of the Living Dead 2026, and I would advise you just don't even look it up. Forget I even mentioned it, and I won't be back for a conversation on that movie. But if you're really interested, I'm sure you could find it in like the bowels of Tubi later this year.
Is
Well,
it a remaster or is it a new thing?
It is looks like it was shot with an iPhone and a
Got
few
it. Okay.
drones.
We'll
And,
st we'll stop it at that. We'll stop it at that.
it's
Okay.
another result of this rights issue, or the lack of rights that surrounds Night of the Living Dead. The legal issues, I still don't really know the ins and outs of that. You can go
What
back
is
and
it,
listen.
Joe? Like simply, it's not public domain. It's not that
It
old.
is,
no, it is. Yeah.
yeah.
It is, but why is it public domain if it's not 100 years old?
I'm sure I've heard an explanation of it that many times, but it kind of leaves my
Oh, I know what
brain.
it is. You guys want to know?
Yes,
Sure.
Yeah,
please.
so what happened was in 1968, John Russo and George A. Romero, they trademarked the title Night of the Flesh Eaters. Okay. And then as they started making the movie, they came to find out that there actually already was one, so there was an issue, and they're like, shit, so we have to change the title, and they changed it last minute to Night of the Living Dead, and they didn't trademark that. So when it got released, the title to the movie and the movie in general immediately went into public domain because the title was not trademarked. So that since then they have not been able to get the rights to it. So that's the reason that this movie got made. Was George A. Romero saying all the money that we got screwed on, all the money that all the cast and crew got screwed on, we're going to make it up to them right now. So that's why this movie got made. It's a little sad because it wasn't like a passion project, but oh shit. What had happened was, I think a year or two earlier, they re-released Night of the Living Dead in color, and it had nothing to do with George A. Romero, had nothing to do with anybody else. So they're like, we need to get ahead of this like right now. This is going to get remade, and we're not going to be able to do it, and nobody's going to know. So we're the original creators. We're coming back. It was John A. Russo who did, I believe, Joe, he did Return of the Living Dead, I think.
He wrote the book Return of the Living Dead, which the movie is loosely based on.
Right. So we talked about it a little bit, I think, in the Return of the Living Dead. It like the rights got split, and John Bannon, right, or Dan Bannon,
Dan O'Bannon.
Dan O'Bannon, he was like, I'm going to write Return of the Living Dead. That'll be my version. And then George A. Romero went off and did Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead,
Hmm.
Diary of the Dead, all that stuff. But they all came back for this one to be like, we're all going to get our piece of the pie right now. So that's why this movie is made the way it is.
And if anyone
Interesting.
deserves to kind of sell out for once, it is George A. Romero.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an indie guy his whole life, and it's just awful that you create this iconic thing that has made so many people so much money. When you think about all the things that were inspired by Night of the Living Dead, The Walking Dead. I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that George and the people around him never really got a piece of that is really terrible. And unfortunately, this movie wasn't much of a hit, so I don't think they really ever cashed in. Maybe after all these years with home video, um, maybe it's seen a profit, but unfortunately, it is a pretty sad story.
It
A little
is.
bit of a dud, a little bit of a dud, but it's the same movie aside from a few things. The big thing is color.
Hmm.
We went from black and white to color, which is like almost like a Wizard of Oz version of Night of the Living Dead, which is kind of cool, but it also made me feel like what if it started color and then went to black and white? Because to me, the black and white is the scary one. The color made it feel less scary. That's just my take.
So I should mention this. This movie, I've always had a fondness for it. I grew up with it a lot, like the original. I feel like growing up, it was kind of a coin flip which one me and my friends liked better because they are so similar. And with the new one you get, or this one, 1990, it's more gruesome. It's maybe a
Sure,
bit
sure.
more fast paced. So we liked it a lot. As I've gotten older, the original is a masterpiece, and to me, this one
100%.
doesn't really compare.
100%.
But a director's cut of this movie, Tom Savini's preferred version of this movie, was just released on 4K Blu-ray
Stop it.
this
Is it
past.
black and white? What is it?
So there are this movie was a miserable experience for Tom Savini. He's very outspoken about that over the years. He had to deal with a lot of censorship. A lot of his gore was cut out, and he also wanted the beginning of the movie to start in black and white, and that's
Interesting.
what
I
this
felt
does.
that. I had
It
no research. I felt that though, watching
So
it.
on his director's cut, just like he always wanted, it starts in black and white. And while watching it, I knew it was gonna eventually turn to color. I didn't know if it was gonna slowly happen. I wasn't sure how that was going to work out. But what happens is the moment that zombie attacks Barbara, boom,
So
color kicks in.
first scene of the graveyard. So
Yeah.
okay.
So everything is sort of happening the way you expect it, like the original. The old man is approaching. You think he's going to attack Barbara. He doesn't. He just turns out to be kind of crazy. He walks off, and then boom, that that zombie attacks
Okay.
her. That more gruesome zombie attacks her. We're in color now, and it's cool. I like it. It might be a little gimmicky, but I thought it was pretty cool. And some of the added bits of gore, it's not like a drastic change. It's not like all of a sudden this is Day of the Dead, like really over the top
Hmm.
violence. It's nothing like that. Just little bits here and there that I think give the movie a little more bite. But so Savini went from saying like this movie represented about 30% of his original version or his original vision to about 70%. So a pretty big jump.
Well,
And
to
there's a
piggyback
lot of
off,
things he
oh,
couldn't do because of time and because of money. But yeah, it's cool that he finally, after all these years, got his version.
and to piggyback off of that, Joe, another thing that the MPAA attacked this movie intentionally because Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, and Dawn of the Dead were all released unrated. So they
Yes.
they went over the MPAA's head. So when this one came out, the intention was to make money. So like we have to have an R rating or whatever. So the MPAA was like, we're gonna fuck you guys. So they literally were just like, this is cut, that's cut, way too gory, get rid of this, get rid of that. So Tom said, exactly, Joe. So this new version that just came out is what he wanted, basically. But the MPAA was all over his ass, and it was his first directing.
For an R-rated film or for a PG-13
No, he was
film?
trying to. They were trying to make it an R-rated because Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, and Day of the Dead were all
Unrated.
unrated. So they totally got away from the MPAA. So now they're like, okay, now you want an R rating? Well, guess what? We're gonna make it really hard for you
Well,
guys.
what else would it have been? An
Unrated.
X?
It would have been unrated, but the intention of this movie was to make all the money to recoup the money from the
Right,
original one.
right.
So they're like, we have to get an MPAA rating, otherwise it's going to be unrated. It's not going to do as well. And like, so they got the MPAA rating, but they made it very difficult for them to get that R
God, I
rating.
almost wish
Yeah.
that Tom would just say F it, unrated,
You
release it.
can't
Yeah.
do that. They can't make money then. That's the
And
thing.
yeah,
But F it at that
The whole
there
point,
point of
and
probably
this
just
is to
hope.
make money. The whole point of this movie was to make money.
there might have been
F it.
contractual obligations with the producers too. It's so fun. I didn't know that, but that makes so much sense because the same thing happened with Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
The first Evil Dead, they just there were probably so many more ways to release movies back in the 70s and into the 80s. There were drive-ins, there were little mom and pop um movie theaters. Like today there's like two huge chains. You have to do exactly what they say.
Yeah.
Back
Hmm.
then there were probably a lot more ways to a lot more freedom. But yeah, with the first Evil Dead, that was also released unrated, and with Evil Dead 2, they were very spiteful, just like here. It's such bullshit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
rough. That's rough.
But this
Yeah.
movie, yeah, right. We've already said it's very similar to the original one. The plot is very similar, but there are a few changes. And honestly, with the exception of the ending, I like all of the changes. I hated the ending, but I like all of the
I
other
didn't
changes
hate
they
the
made.
ending. I like the first one better,
So
but the
much better.
ending isn't terrible. It's a
It,
different ending. It's not a
Yeah.
copycat at this point, but it was good.
it
I
The
is.
kind
whole
of
It's
dig it
fine.
too. We could
Yeah.
we could wait till we get there, but I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
dig it.
I didn't hate it, man.
It's
The first
of
one's just way better, but
the
like, yeah,
yeah.
this is cool too.
Of
Yeah.
all the changes, though, I think that was the weakest. Barbara. So the first major change of the film, the first one is right in the beginning, where the zombie attacks Barbara in the original one. It's like pretty straightforward. It's like a guy just walking, and there's like ah. This one, you get like it looks like Chris Christopherson with like a head wound, and he's just like ah, and you're like, oh, that's a zombie, but it's not. It's just a guy that hit his head on something. And then the zombie comes out, jump scare, and that zombie looked great. I was like,
Yes, he
oh
did.
my God, this is awesome. And I kind of feel like that's where it peaked. I kind of felt like the zombie, the makeup was good, but not like Day of the Dead good. Or like, that was like, Day of the Dead was like, whoa. And that's Tom
Well,
Savini too. So I was like, all
the
right.
the, the the first difference I saw was that A, it's in color,
Well,
and
yeah.
B, Barbara has short hair. I don't know. It's a little bit of a 90s cut. I don't know. Was it
Well,
like Jennifer Aniston? I don't
no.
know who.
Well, this movie
I'm
was
kidding.
filmed
I'm
in the
kidding. I'm
80s.
kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
But
I
Barbara's hair is
mean,
short, but Barbara's character was my favorite thing. That was my favorite part of
yeah,
the movie.
That was
Bar-
cool. I mean, it was a little ridiculous at the end. She's like strapped with bullets and stuff, and it's kind of like, come on, what are we doing? But
yeah.
I,
It's almost a little of an overcorrection, I'll
it
say.
was too
Yeah,
much. It was too. I agree with you,
yeah.
Joe. But
yeah.
But
yeah,
I like it. I like it. I think you had to go a different direction with that character. You
Yeah.
know,
Alex,
but
Alex, right? Alex, right though. That first zombie was peak for this
yeah,
movie. I
yeah.
agree with
And,
you there.
Sick.
Yeah,
and I remember, even as a kid, knowing that first movie so well, that fake out got me so good, and it
Yeah.
still kind of gets me to this
Yeah.
day.
Yes.
I will say, I'm assuming you guys watched the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
Um,
Pretty sure.
the uh, the
whatever
new
was on
4K,
Pluto TV or however I watched it was,
I would
yeah,
imagine.
theatrical was my guess.
The new 4K, it looks great. Like the movie looks better than it ever has. I've always kind of had a problem with just the way this movie looks, and it might be just because I'm so obsessed with that original movie and the black and white. And I think I said during that podcast, like I feel like you could take a random frame from that original movie and just throw it on the cover of a book about
Mm.
horror movies, and it would just be perfect. Like I always thought this movie, especially in these early daylight scenes, had a bit of a TV movie look to it. I don't know if you kind of felt that way.
I felt that way, especially in the beginning. The music was so like late 80s annoying. Like,
Yeah,
ding, ding. It was like over the top shitty synthesizer. But then it got better. It got better as the movie
Yeah.
went on. But it started, I was like, fuck, I hope it doesn't sound like this TV 80s movie quality, the whole thing. But yeah, I also heard, Joe, that the Blu-ray that got like Tom Savini approved the Blu-ray, they added a filter to the whole movie to make it look darker, the whole movie, and people rioted.
So that was a Blu-ray that came out, I don't know, maybe like 10 years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah,
which I think it's long out of print. I think it's very hard to get. So yeah, I think there's always been some contention about the way this movie looks.
yeah.
And yeah, I think he's very happy with the most recent release. It looks great.
I want to pick that up. I really do because I really like this movie a lot. I mean, it's not like groundbreaking. I mean, it's the first one with a little bit, a little bit of spice added to it.
Yeah.
It's full frame, which is interesting. It's widescreen and it's also in color, so it's like okay, sick, that's cool. But the changes, yeah, we just talked about. There's a few minimal changes. Most of it's pretty straightforward. And the other thing we should mention is it was directed by Tom Savini. That's awesome. But it was written by George A. Romero. So this was his second chance to kind of come in and be like, you know what, I'm gonna clean up a couple little things here and there. And I thought it was mostly improved upon the writing to a degree, but it's pretty much the same thing, pretty much.
right, right. But like, that's what makes it a little bit like, okay, I accept it because if it was word for word from the graveyard scene the whole way to the ending, the same movie, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's a Disney live action what they do. Like
Yeah.
there
Or
needs to be a
Psycho.
change, and
yep.
Yeah.
Psycho is a great example. Um, but the other big change in this to me, Dwayne Jones to Tony Todd, which I loved. I mean, both did a great job. Both were amazing. Obviously, I think Jones died 2 years before this came out. I have no idea about blessings or what, but having Tony Todd there to play Ben again, that's as good as it gets, period.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently there was some other actor that they were really dead set on. And
Who
then
else
I can't remember now. I watched a docu or a
besides
little
Tony Todd?
yeah, it was somebody that they selected. They're like, we want him, and then Tony Todd came in and had like an absolute grand slam audition, and George Romero was like, "That's the guy, that's the
Yeah,
guy," sort of thing.
cool.
Have you heard of that, Joe? Do you know who it was supposed to be?
I don't know if it was supposed to be, but I know Savini said that Lawrence Fishburne auditioned
That's right.
No
That's
shit. It
right.
was Lawrence
Yeah,
Fishburne.
yeah.
Okay.
He probably would have been pretty good too,
Who
but
also has dabbled in horror quite a bit, so
and
that's
Event
not a bad
Horizon.
option either. That's not a bad option, but he's way bigger
Yeah,
than
no, Tony Todd was
Ben.
perfect. He was
Tony Todd was
perfect for
good.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love Tony Todd. You know, I feel like kind of the weak link in the cast here, and it's not that he's bad or anything. I just, I think the performance is a little too much. Is Cooper?
Mm.
You
Yep,
know,
I thought the same thing.
yeah,
Same thing. The guy with the hat
it,
who
the
No,
the
no,
villain,
no.
the villain.
In the basement, that
But
guy.
right, he was a little over the top, but there was also the
exactly,
other kid, not kid, but like with a
yeah,
hat
yep.
who just took me out a couple times.
So he's kind of horror royalty.
Yeah, he is Eric. He's in everything.
I know, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, what's his name?
Was
In the movie, his name was Tom, but the actor's name is William Butler. And yeah, Joe and I were just talking about him. He was in Friday the 13th, part 7, New Blood. Leatherface 3. He's in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Return of the Living Dead. I guess the sequels that we never covered, Joe. He's in all of
Yes.
those. And then he's also in Freddy's Nightmares and Texas and the Friday the 13th TV show, I think.
Yeah, not a bad resume.
Yeah, yeah, he's been in quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So Cooper, you know, it's not that he's bad. I think he's just, I feel like trying so hard to be
the bad
unlikable.
guy, the
You
bad
know,
guy. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Whereas in the first one, you know, he was an asshole, but you
He
could
still
also,
tried. He still tried to
yeah,
help in
yep.
scenes. Yeah.
He felt like a real person, whereas this guy
Yeah.
just feels like a villain. And some of that I kind of place on Savini. Like I feel like you know the director has to know when to rein certain things in. Same with Barbara. it might just you know he might have taken things a little too far. You know, this is his first movie,
Mm.
so you know he had a lot of pressure on a lot of. He was the head of every department essentially, so maybe he wasn't paying as much attention to some of these performances as I would have liked. But all in all, you know, not really any complaints.
May
Love
I
Tony
ask?
Todd.
May I ask? I didn't do my research too much, but were older cast members in this from the original in this one?
No.
No, I
Not at
think
all.
only
Not even cameo style. Like,
there's one like Bill Cardell. He was like a local host in the Pittsburgh area. He plays like a reporter, but I think though only in that very small role. I think that
wow.
might be it. If there are any
Probably
others,
probably
I think they're
because they
small
wanted to
to
keep
me.
it separate from the original as much as possible. Okay.
Well, also, everybody was a lot older then. I mean, 22 years, and there's not like a character
Barbara's
named
still
Billy.
alive, the actor who played Barbara
Yeah, but
today
who would
from the
she be in
original.
this movie? There's not like an old
And
lady.
maybe a zombie or something, or
Mm.
old farm woman of some kind or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could
She
have,
wasn't
but
that old then, and she's still kicking today. So,
yeah, well, the people that got to play, I can't remember the brother's name, but Barbara in the beginning, yeah, is a stunt actress. And then the brother was Bill Moseley,
Oh
which is
yeah,
pretty interesting. And he dies very early in the movie. But I gotta say, in the beginning, when Bill Moseley's character died, I was like, oh my God, that looks so shitty. When the
yeah,
zombie
a
when it
little
like
bit.
it hits, it's like it was so bad looking that I was like,
you mean the
Tom.
dummy?
Yeah, the
Thomas.
dummy's
Yeah,
neck that hits the
Thomas.
thing. I was like, this is bad.
Thomas. You're
Yeah.
you're better than this. Yes. And I'm sure he
I
felt that way making this film.
I feel like that always stood out, even when I was watching this movie on VHS. Yeah, not one of the one of the more convincing effects.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck, this is how it's starting. And then the music was going. I was like, uh-oh, like this is
Yeah.
not off to a great start. But then it did keep getting better. And I think you guys are right. Like you're right. The Barbara character in the first movie, she is just useless. She's like she's the lead. I get not really, but she's like a catatonic woman the entire movie. And you're like, this is
Pretty
just a
much.
waste of a character. And in this movie, I think you're right. Maybe they overcorrected a little bit, but
Mhm.
she is like badass. She
Yeah,
is
she turned into
smart.
Rambo by the end of the movie, pretty much.
Yeah, but she's also smart. Like she's honestly the
Yeah.
smartest one in the movie because she was right. She's looking out the window. She's like, "We can out fucking run these guys. Like, let's just go." And they're like, "No, he's staying in the basement." It's like, I definitely think you guys could outrun them. Like, I really do. Like,
Yeah.
they're not intimidating. They are when there's 100 of them in one door, sure. But you guys can outrun them
Which
so
is gonna
easily
happen if they don't leave, which
and
is
they
her
never
point.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was her character that was like, we should do this, and she was just much more useful in this movie. But basically, other than that, pretty much the same freaking movie. I mean, all the same drama. I mean, the gore is better, but pretty much the same kind of back and forth fighting, all the same issues of the, or, like the daughter's sick, she got bit, and the mother and husband are fighting, and
Hmm.
everybody's just kind of arguing the whole time. So not much changes in the bulk of the middle of the film. The beginning and the
The
end.
ending.
Yeah,
The
the ending's
ending.
huge, but other than, yeah, I'm trying to think like what else could we even really talk about during the actual
I,
bulk of
I
the
I was
film?
trying to remember the first one. I haven't seen the first one since we last watched it, but the gas key the gas key was such a nice touch when Tony Todd's all like dying in the basement and he finds the key and he's laughing. I really like that scene
Oh, I
because it's
love
just
it when
like
he takes out the broken cigarette and you know that wasn't scripted. He's just like, fuck. He throws it and takes out another one. I was like, that is good. That was really
that's
good.
yeah, that was cool. But
Yeah, I like it. Feels very like Tales from the Crypt, EC Comics, where like
mm,
there's just some dark, ironic ending. Not quite as dark as the original, but
ugh, the original
it's
is just so dark. It's just like, damn, dude, you made it. You made it. And then that happens.
yeah.
It's crazy.
And they
But
couldn't do that again. So I'm curious,
exactly.
Alec, if you have any idea where you would have liked to have seen it go, or where you think it should have gone.
The
Um,
ending,
yeah.
dude. I mean, I didn't come up with a better idea, but I feel like here, let's get to the ending at the ending because there's one other
Yeah.
thing that happened in the middle that I think was the only downgrade in this movie. Why can't I remember it now? I just was thinking about it. There's one because I think all the other improvements, all the changes are an improvement, but there's one thing they did that I really did not like in the middle of the film, and I can't fucking remember now. But the ending, yeah, it just it is different, and I understand why they did it differently. I just feel like the impact of the first one was so. Oh, okay, I remember what it was. The middle of the movie, there's one scene which in the original is probably one of the scariest parts of the whole movie, when the little girl kills her mother. That scene is
Hmm.
so scary just because of the way it's shot, but also the sound in that scene is it sticks with me forever. It's like
Mhm.
such a distinct sound. And this one, I hated that scene.
Yeah.
They fucking
Mm.
threw that out the window. They're like, my baby, and then just bites her neck. And I was like, ugh. So yeah, that was a
And so
downgrade.
Savini did say that he had this elaborate
He
death
had to
scene
cut it. He
planned,
had to cut it.
and he
Yeah.
actually didn't even have time to shoot it. Savini talked about how like he had all his storyboards all over his office,
Mm.
and George Romero comes in, he looks at them, and he's like, "Tom, you have a 4 week shoot, and this is 6 weeks worth of work."
Yeah.
And Savini was, he was confident, and he was like, "We're gonna move quick. We'll get it done." And sure enough,
Yeah.
they needed 2 extra weeks that they didn't get. So
Yeah.
that is one of the things that just had to be left behind. And you can tell there's no way, that's arguably the most iconic scene in Night of the Living Dead, the little girl. So
Yeah.
there's no way Savini would have had nothing planned for that. Yeah, as it is, it's
That
pretty
must
decent.
suck. That must suck as a director going through that and trying to make a baby and just not the baby you wanted.
You
Yeah.
know, I was thinking like this movie is very faithful almost, maybe almost too faithful to the original, and I would have liked to have seen it go in some other directions. Like, why not start with Ben? You know, remember when Ben is telling the
Yeah.
story about being at the diner and
Yeah.
seeing all the zombies come out of the truck? Like, why not start there? You know,
Mm.
but then, I see who produced this movie, Menachem Golan. I don't know if that means anything to you guys, but
No.
being a kid from the 80s, he was behind Canon Films,
Oh, sure.
which made a lot of movies I love.
Yeah.
Masters of the Universe, a lot of like schlocky Chuck Norris movies.
For
Movies I have
sure.
some affection for, but they're mostly low budget movies. And his company went bankrupt. He started a new company. They made this movie. They're not going to make some kind of zombie epic.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I do think this movie moves. Like
Yeah.
It
especially.
does. It does. It's very quick. Was not bored once.
Yeah.
Maybe when they first were sitting down and talking with the guy with the hat and like when they were doing that was a little slow, but aside from that, this movie does move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the action was really well done, especially like the
Mhm.
whole gas tank thing and Ben's trying to make his way back to the house. I thought this was pretty.
For
I mean,
sure.
I've seen it many times, but watching it with a more kind of critical eye this time, I thought it was well shot, pretty exciting.
Well, one thing that
Mm,
Tom Savini did want to add that George Romero shot down was a POV shot from the zombies. And George Romero was like, I don't want that. He's like, I don't want you to like humanize them. I don't want it to see it from their point of view. But that was something that Tom Savini wanted to add to this movie. He's like, I want to do a POV shot from the zombies' point of view. And George was like, no, you're not
Like
gonna.
Terminator Vision or something like that.
It would have been from their point of
Yeah.
view. Yeah. So I
Mm,
don't, I
kind of.
mean, who knows? It could have been just look like blurry or gross or
All
whatever.
right.
But that was something that he had specifically wanted to add. And they're like, nah.
I wouldn't have said no to that, but I'm so curious what Romero why, but
Because he said it would
maybe
humanize them too much. That's what he said.
really.
But I mean,
Huh.
that's what I saw. I didn't
Interesting.
ask
I
George
mean,
myself,
he
but
he he knows. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, that could have fit, but um, I get the pushback, I guess.
yeah. So then the ending basically again, yeah, they basically are like, all right, let's go get the gas, we'll get the car, we'll do all this stuff, and all hell breaks loose just like in the
Yep.
original one. And then the changes start to happen towards the end where everyone's dead now. The mother's dead. The daughter's dead in the basement. Or no, the daughter's not dead yet. The mother's dead. Um, and the two younger people from Friday the 13th and his girlfriend are dead now. So basically, it's just Ben, Barbara, Cooper, and that's it, I think, at this point. So the movie starts to really change where you're like, okay, this is kind of the part. Doesn't Barbara? No, she doesn't die. She's the only one that doesn't die in the
No,
original
she
one.
survives in the
No,
in
in the
this one.
original one. Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is the scene where I think Cooper gets killed by his daughter in the original one, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and that did not happen in this one where his daughter comes out from the basement, starts going to attack Ben, I think. They have multiple guns, they shoot her, and then as a result, Cooper goes crazy and starts shooting at Ben, hits Ben, Ben hits Cooper, and Barbara's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" Like the zombies are like breaking into the house, they're shooting each other. And then basically Barbara's like, I don't know what to do. Cooper then goes upstairs and does the thing that they all should have done from the start, go into the attic where there's no other way for these zombies to get up there. Basement, I understand. They're like, hey, you'll break this door down, then there'll be 100 of them there. Sure. Zombies aren't going to see that. They're not going to pull the string down and pull that. They all should have gone up there from the beginning. No, zombies can't do that.
I'm
What do you
telling you,
think, Joe?
since I was a kid, because of this movie, every time I see an attic like that, I'm like, if there is ever a zombie apocalypse, that's where I'm headed.
Yep.
You gotta stock it really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it is. It's something that I was always. It's like, oh, you know.
Yeah. They're not getting up there.
Yep.
So
But this ending is Ben is dying, right?
he's on the stairs. Barbara's there. Yeah, and he's like, get out of here. Go. Like, I'm going to die. Just go. And Barbara's like, fuck. And she just runs away.
He sees the gas key, smokes a cigarette. Morning happens. The same thing as the first one where the I don't know, the
Rednecks.
people, the rednecks essentially, yes, show up and save the day. There's a different scene where they're hanging a bunch of zombies and stuff and shooting at them, and Barbara says the line like, "We're
We're just
not
like
any
them.
different
Yeah.
than the zombies," which is kind of like, oh, I like that. And then they go into the house. They open the basement with a chainsaw. Ben pops out, Tony Todd's character. He's a zombie. They shoot him. And then Cooper shows up around the corner, and Barbara just caps him in the head before he has anything to say, before he can prove he's fine. And she goes throw him in the pile because she knows how bad of a person. So that was a interesting way to do this movie.
Hmm.
It's a
And-
twist. It's a different twist for people that are fans, but I think it's so much less impactful. And so Ben just bled out in the basement.
oh, the first, I like I said, I like this ending. The first one's way better, but this ending was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
like the redneck stuff. I thought it was like too much. It turned into like Shaun of the Dead. Like immediately. They're like, all right,
Mm.
let's put him in we'll get drunk and we'll push him around. I was like, I don't think you guys will be doing that the next fucking day. Like you don't know anything about this disease. And you're like, let's get drunk and push
They're
him.
probably drunk from the night before still. So
Yeah, but I think it shows how little of a threat these things are unless you are like completely unarmed and completely overwhelmed. Because yeah, a bunch of redneck dudes with guns takes the whole town back within,
one
20
other
minutes.
thing I liked about this movie is when Tony Todd's in this house and he sees like the deer antlers on the wall and he's like, there's definitely guns in this house.
And there
Does
was.
anyone catch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like you know when you walk in a house and you're just like, oh, there's no guns here. And then but like that house, you're like, there's guns here. There's a lot of guns here somewhere. I thought that was a funny line.
I feel
Yeah.
like the closing moments of this movie kind of continue uh, Romero's kind of changing feelings about zombies. Like in the last one, Day of the Dead, he seems to have moved into a much more kind of sympathetic view with like
Yeah.
Bub,
Yep.
and more so that the humans are the real evil.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think this movie just kind of
Hits
lays
that.
that on even thicker. I think just Romero has become more and more cynical as he's been making these movies, and I feel like that even continues into the next movie, Land of the Dead. For the longest time, it seemed like growing up, it seemed like this movie was going to be Romero's last word on zombie movies.
Mm.
And then Land of the
It
Dead
sounds
came
like
along.
Romero really wanted to make a film called Night of the Living Executive Producers and just do a movie about like killing executive producers. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like these people that put their passion into it were just hit and hit and hit
Mhm.
by all corners of it, and you get that feeling. So,
I'm sure
Well,
Savini would love to do that too, because Romero actually, at some point during this production, I think he had to leave because he
yeah.
was shooting a movie I've mentioned on the show before that we should cover, The Dark Half.
Hmm.
So yeah,
The
he
Dark
went ahead and
Half.
yeah, it's
All right,
based on a Stephen King novel. Um,
on the wheel next time. 100%. 100%. We're
I'll be
doing
there.
it.
Joe, I did hear that too. He was like on set for the first like week or so, just to like get things going, and then apparently the second he left, it really started falling apart. Tom Savini
Yeah,
lost control, and people didn't respect him the same way, and it was just like, shit.
yeah, I
Uh,
think
Yeah.
Savini was hoping he would be there to kind of shepherd the production along, and
yeah.
then was kind of left high and
Ah,
dry.
shit.
Well,
Okay.
let me ask you this. I know this movie didn't make a lot of money. I think it made like $1 million. It cost 4 million to make. Where did that money go? Because it's one location. Nobody's a big actor at the time. Where the fuck did all that money go? I know the special effects are better, but like it's one farmhouse. They shot it in 36 days for $4 million. Like that's like a pretty high budget for this movie, I feel like.
Honestly, the closing shot looked like it took a lot of extras, if I had to
Whatever.
guess.
That's like a hundred
But
dollars a day. That's not much for
sure,
most.
but there's a lot of people there, and a lot went into those closing scenes.
What do you think,
I
Joe?
think
Why do you
that's my
think
take.
that's
That's my
I, I
take.
mean, I
that's not
think
enough? Yeah.
I think $1 million doesn't go quite as far as we might think, even back in 1990. But you never know. Like I said, Canon Films, Menahem Golan, he, they weren't above shady business practices, so you never know.
Four
You're
million
right.
dollars, one
You're not wrong.
location,
Oh,
You're
no
not.
4 million.
You're
celebrities.
not
Oh,
Four
wrong.
4 million.
million. It
Four
made a
million.
million. It made
Right,
one
right.
million dollars profit, but it
Okay.
cost 4 million in 1990 without one big actor, one location, not crazy makeup. I mean, definitely better than the original, but like what the like 4 million? I don't know.
I'm assuming extras, Joe. That's my only guess,
That's
but there might be some shady
so.
shit going on that, yeah,
I
Yeah,
as
mean,
well.
unless there was like 10,000 extras and they had to pay them
Maybe
$100 a
maybe
day.
Savini was just pounding Fiji water. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know. It
yeah,
could be anything,
extras.
man.
Yeah, no, no. Yeah, so that was just like, what? But otherwise, yeah, the movie, I don't know, it kind of just feels like it kind of came and went. I didn't even know about this movie until a couple of years ago. You know, I didn't even know it
Never
existed.
saw it. This was a treat. This was a
Yeah.
treat to watch, honestly, because I Night of the Living Dead is phenomenal, and this doesn't take away from it at all.
No, no, no. And knowing that it was made by the people that made the original one, it wasn't just like, oh, we'll take the title and we'll cash in on it. It was like, no, we actually brought everybody, or everybody came back that wanted to come back and made this movie happen. So, very happy I saw it. Still prefer the original, but like,
Mhm.
dude, just another Tony Todd horror,
Yeah.
movie. Good for
Can we
him.
can we say can we say Pride of Connecticut, Alec, while we're at it with
Oh,
Tony Todd?
right. That was something I learned during this. He was born in Washington, D.C., but was raised in Hartford. He went to college at UConn. He performed at, I don't know if it was the Ridgefield Playhouse or another one in Connecticut. And that's kind of where he got a start in acting, was in Connecticut. I never knew that.
That's so
So,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no.
R.I.P. Tony Todd and yeah, Pride of Connecticut for sure. We'll count
My man.
it.
Well, you guys got any last minute thoughts on Night of the Living Dead 90? Night 90, as they call it?
yeah. No, like you said, it can't compare to the greatness of the original. How could it? But yeah, still a fun zombie flick worth checking out. And yeah, Tony Todd rules.
Yeah, last thought, I said it before, remind me of Wizard of Oz, just black and white to color and a totally different ending, but it was cool. I liked it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it then, guys. Thank you all for listening into our discussion today on Night of the Living Dead 1990. And we'll be back next week with Saw 3. It's the last movie on the wheel, so we don't have to spin the wheel this time. But yeah, Saw 3, that'll finish out this wheel. So, Joe, thank you so much for joining us again for for Night of the Living Dead 90. And we will see you guys all next week with Saw 3.
Woo!